Currently, it is 34 degrees here on the campus of St. Louis Community College at Florissant Valley. I'm Jell with your noon news update. A man accused of shooting a woman with a stray bullet last year in St. Louis is now facing murder charges after the victim died. Prosecutors upgraded the charges after Devont Morgan yesterday in the shooting of Tamara Collier. Authorities say the victim was shot in the neck while doing laundry at her mother's home after Morgan fired an assault rifle at two gang squad officers. Collier was left paralyzed at first, but then died of related injuries in August. An investigation is underway after a man was found dead in St. Louis. Police say the victim was discovered yesterday morning in the 4800 block of North Broadway. He was found with apparent puncture wounds to his torso. The incident is being considered a homicide. A former sports doctor from Webster Groves is receiving jail time and probation for abusing 7 women at 2 medical offices in St. Louis County. Howard Setzer was sentenced yesterday to 90 days behind bars and 5 years of probation after he pleaded guilty in October to 10 charges. Setzer admitted to fondling at least 7 women in 2016 at the Richmond Heights and Creve Coeur offices of Mid-County Orthopedic Surgery and Sports Medicine. He is already serving probation for sexually abusing 14 women at his St. Charles office. Now on to the weather. Today it is snowy with a high of 35, low of 25. Tomorrow, it will be sunny with a high of 44, low of 34. Thursday, we've got morning showers with a high of 37, low of 22. Friday, partly cloudy, high of 33, low of 23. And Saturday, mostly cloudy, high of 33, low of 24. So, we're getting snow today. It's all going to melt tomorrow, and then it's going to get cold again. Wonderful. Anyway, that sums up all of that. Currently, it is 34 degrees at KCFV. I'm Jill, and this has been your noon news update. But please stay tuned, because after we take a short break, we will be back with GameBabble Live, your video game news and information show, which airs every Tuesday from noon to 3 p.m. We like to kick the show off with the new game releases for this week, what's coming out next week, what anime are in theaters, and then we proceed onward to all sorts of different video game news and information, so please stay tuned for that. But until then, here is Neutron Dawn by Proletariat Punch, here on 89.5 FM, KCFV The Wave, diverse music for your diverse mind. Thank you so much for listening. That was Neutron Dawn by Proletariat Punch, here on 89.5 FM, KCFV The Wave, diverse music for your diverse mind. I'm your host, Jell, and welcome to GameBabble Live, your video game news and information show, which airs every Tuesday from noon to 3 p.m. I'd like to kick the show off with the new game releases for this week, what's coming out next week, and what anime are in theaters. So, let's kick things off. First of all, PlayStation 4, what you got for us this week? Believe it or not, a whole lot of PlayStation VR games. But first of all, Tekken 7 has received both Craig Marduk and Armor King as DLC. Following that, we've got Arca's Path VR, Assassin's Creed Odyssey Story Arc 1, Legacy of the First Blade, Astrology and Horoscope Premium, Atelier Arlen Series Deluxe Pack, Atelier Rorona, The Alchemist of Arlen DX, Atelier Totori, The Adventure of Arlen DX, and that should have Atelier Meruru, the I forget of Arlen DX somewhere on here, but for some reason she's not. Oh, no, for some reason that is listed as tomorrow. The Apprentice of Arlen. Okay, whatever. Anyway, Betty Bat's Treasure Hunt, Escape Game Aloha, Gwent, The Witcher card game, Hellblade, Senua's Sacrifice, Just Cause 4, Just Deal With It, Lego DC Supervillains Aquaman Movie Pack 1, Monica y Aguarda dos Cuervos, which, that is very interesting, because also Monster Boy and the Cursed Kingdom comes out the same day. Why is this interesting? Okay, in Brazil, the Wonder Boy series is, when they localized the Wonder Boy series in Brazil, they changed it to be based on a comic series called Monica, which is what Monica e a Guarda dos Coelhos is based on. And Monster Boy in the Cursed Kingdom is also based on Wonder Boy. So just one of those weird coincidences that really blows my mind, having both a new Wonder Boy and a new Monica game at the same time. Okay, that happened. Either way, Mutant Year Zero, Road to Eden, Override, Mech City Brawl, Persona 3, Dancing in Moonlight, Persona 5, Dancing in Starlight, Persona Dancing Endless Night Collection, which is a double pack of both of those games, Pinball FX3, Williams Pinball Volume 2, Prison Boss VR, Smash Hit Plunder, Subnautica, Super Life of Pixel, The Council, Episode 5, Checkmate, The Sims 4, Jungle Adventure, Thronebreaker, The Witcher Tales, Word Hunters, Atelier Meru, The Apprentice of Arlen DX, Energy Cycle Edge, Picture Party, VR, Battle Princess Madeline, Jagged Alliance, Rage, The Last Remnant, Remastered, Guns and Stories, Bulletproof VR, Headlander, Hello Neighbor Hide and Seek, and Player Unknown's Battleground makes its PS4 debut. Xbox One, what you getting? Xbox One is getting the Tekken 7 DLC of Craig Marduk and Armor King, along with Assassin's Creed Odyssey Story Arc 1, Legacy of the First Blade, Energy Cycle Edge, Gods Remastered, Gwent, The Witcher card game, Hellblade, Senua's Sacrifice, Just Cause 4, Lego DC Supervillains, Aquaman Movie Pack 1, Monica y Aguardo dos Cuervos, Monster Boy in the Cursed Kingdom, Mutant Year Zero, Road to Eden, Override Mech City Brawl Supercharged Mega Edition, Pinball FX3, Williams Pinball Volume 2, Subnautica, The Council Episode 5 Checkmate, Thronebreaker, The Witcher Tales, Battle Princess Madeline, Jagged Alliance, Rage, Hello Neighbor Hide and Seek, and On a Roll 3D. Nintendo Switch this week is getting Demetrios, The Big Cynical Adventure, Atelier Arland Deluxe Pack, featuring Atelier Meru, The Apprentice of Arlen DX, Atelier Rorona, The Alchemist of Arlen DX, and Atelier Totori, The Adventurer of Arlen DX. Gear Club Unlimited 2, Lego DC Supervillains, Aquaman Movie Pack 1, Monster Boy in the Cursed Kingdom, Pinball FX3, Williams Pinball Volume 2, Toki Retro Lector Edition, Energy Cycle Edge, Battle Princess Madeline, Beholder Complete Edition, Carcassonne, Color Zen, Conduct Together, Long Story, a dating game for the real world, Rival Megagun, Ultimate Runner, Hello Neighbor Hide and Seek, Katamari Damacy Reroll, Sega Genesis Classics, Shantae and the Pirate's Curse gets a limited run physical release, and Super Smash Brothers Ultimates! Yeah, that's Friday. A little excited about that. 3DS gets nothing this week, but PlayStation Vita, believe it or not, is getting Emerald Shores, Persona 3, Dancing in Moonlight, Persona 5, Dancing in Starlight, Persona Dancing Endless Night Collection, Super Life of Pixel, Energy Cycle Edge, and Battle Princess Madeline. Like I said, maybe it was dumb of Sony to discontinue the Vita, I'm just saying. Moving on to the next week. So let's see, next week we've got on PS4, Desert Child, Double Switch 25th Anniversary Edition. I know exactly one person who is hyped for that. Double Switch is a old Sega CD game, very similar to Night Trap, but better. Earth Defense Force 5, Gungrave VR, Kingdom 2 Crowns, SON, Final Fantasy 15 Comrades gets its standalone release, Gnome's Garden, New Home, SNK Heroines, Tag Team Frenzy Jean, and Borderlands 2 VR. Xbox One next week is getting Kingdom 2 Crowns, Desert Child, Final Fantasy 15 Comrades, and Rally Racers. Nintendo Switch next week is scheduled to get Guacamelee 2, Desert Child, Everspace, Stellar Edition, Kingdom 2 Crowns, Salt and Sanctuary Drowned Tome Edition, Solar Flux, All Might Tree, The Last Dreamer, Gris, Hunter's Legacy Perfect Edition, Knights of Pen and Paper 2 Deluxiest Edition, Omen Sight Definitive Edition, Oxyjet, Roller Coaster Tycoon Adventures, Sega Ages Phantasy Star, SNK Heroines Tag Team Frenzy Jean, and Starman, Big Crown Showdown, and Lazy Galaxy Rebel Story. PlayStation Vita gets nothing, as does the 3DS. So that sums up our new game releases for this week and next week. How about anime in theaters? Well, we've got Mirai, which will be in theaters December 5th and 8th. following that, we've got the Hayao Miyazaki documentary, Never-Ending Man, Hayao Miyazaki, which is not an anime, but it might be interesting. That's December 13th and 18th. Then, Haikara-san, Here Comes Miss Modern 2 is still scheduled to come, I would assume, sometime this month, but I don't have a date. And then Dragon Ball Super Broly will be in theaters in January. So that, my good friends, sums up our new games for this week, what's coming out next week, and what anime are coming to theaters. So, good times for all. I am very happy to see some of this. Egad, there are some serious last minute releases for Christmas coming up right here. This is a little bit silly. Wow, there's a surprising amount of stuff coming out in January. That's supposed to be like nothing. Okay, whatever. Just scrolling on down there. Wonder what's going on with that Atelier series Arland Deluxe Pack. I am mildly interested in that. Can I get any information about that? Like, does it have a physical release? Does it have to be special ordered from the website? Either way, that's quite a thing. Yeah, okay, it's also on Steam, in the off chance you're interested. That is certainly a thing. I remember, I wonder how the remake of Atelier Rorona turned out. Because one of the things, I remember picking up Atelier Rorona, and that was like the first entry in the series that was in 3D. And it was a little on the rough side, but I really liked the character, and it very clearly has the heftiest remake of all of these. Like, those graphics are very overhauled. I think everything else is pretty much just a slightly improved port. But I really liked Meru. I remember having some fun with that. Not as much as I liked the Monokemia series, though. I should probably explain what these are. The Atelier series is a series of RPGs that has been going on in Japan since the PS1 and Sega Saturn, but we didn't get any of them until Atelier Iris on PS2. And yeah, they generally have female protagonists, and like Atelier Iris was actually the first one that didn't. And all of them are about being an alchemist and running an alchemy shop, pretty much a item and potion shop in town. And so they sort of turn things on their head because they're not really about an epic quest so much as helping the townspeople, gathering ingredients, and solving some mysteries. Definitely a bit of an acquired taste. Monokemia was a spin-off series where you played someone going to alchemy school, and for some reason I really, really liked that more than the rest of the Atelier series. I haven't played a new one in a while. It's one of those things I only pick up occasionally because you really got to be in the right mood for it. It's definitely not for everyone. But I absolutely love the visual style they've had on the recent games. They've done some interesting things with both character design and cell shading to make it just very pretty and intricate looking, which was very striking, especially at the time. All these were originally released on PS3, and yeah, the last generation, we were just not getting JRPGs. Most of the good ones were on DS. It was a crappy generation for Japanese RPGs, and that's why it's so it's so interesting that that these games came out, because even though they were made by a very small company with a very limited budget, they did find a way to make them incredibly pretty and interesting. The animations and presentation were a little rough, but the character designs and models were very interesting. Let me see this, though. The product is only available in download version. Due to ratings issues, the Steam version for North American region is delayed. Interesting. Due to a rating issue. That's odd. That is very, very odd. But okay, so it is download only. That's very disappointing. That's very disappointing that it's download only. I would have liked a big, meaty triple pack of all 3 of those games. But either way, yeah. So that's certainly an interesting release. Let's see, what else was there on this list? I mean, we've got the Persona Dancing Collection, which I might be picking that up today. I'm not 100% sure. Because, like, I like the music in Personas 3 and 5, and I like music games. Kind of missed out on Persona 4. I know I could still pick it up, but still, I'm very interested in getting the Persona 5 one, and then I really like the music of 3. So, that's a thing. I do know that they don't have a story mode, though, the way that Persona 4 Dancing All Night had. So, that is a thing. Also, I should probably mention a few other things. Like I said, Monster Boy and the Cursed Kingdom, that's been delayed a lot. It is a spiritual successor to Wonder Boy and the Dragon's Curse, which, as you know, got a, well, maybe you don't, but that got a HD remake earlier, I think it was this year, maybe it was last year, but earlier, Wonder Boy and the Dragon's Curse, Dragon's Trap, whatever, got a remake, and then at the exact same time, some of the original developers for it were making Monster Boy and the Cursed Kingdom, which has been delayed over and over and over again. Gotta say, I'm pretty intrigued by it, considering the BS it went through. There are some of the most random releases coming out now. We got Monster Boy, we got the friggin' Toki remake, which the Toki remake, egad! You realize that was actually originally supposed to be a WiiWare game, right? That thing got delayed like you wouldn't believe. It was supposed to be a WiiWare download. Now, WiiWare's gone. You can't even, it's gone. You can't even download or buy things from that store. And now it's finally coming out. And Toki's just the most random game. Because if you've never played it, it's an old arcade game. It also got like a Genesis and NES release. It's an old arcade game where a guy gets turned into a monkey, and he is a monkey that spits bullets out of his mouth. It's made by a completely random company. I don't think it was especially popular, and it has gotten a loving and gorgeous high-definition remake from the artist behind Mr. Nuts and the composer for Shaq Fu. There are some truly random things that go on in the world of video games, my good friends. I couldn't explain this if I wanted to. It just happens. Now there's some, there are some interesting releases. I might have to pick that up. Let's see, any other really weird ones? There's so much stuff, like all the VR games coming out today. Arca's Path VR, Prison Boss VR. There were more, but I can't find them. Picture Party VR, Guns and Stories, Bulletproof VR, which that one I need to look into because that was apparently a light gun style shooter. And I will tell you right now, light gun shooters work really, really well in VR, and we need more of them, so I'm kind of interested in that. Also, Override Mech City Brawl is a very neat looking game. That is a 4-player online simultaneous giant robot fighting game. And it actually has, get this, it actually has a mode where you can play it Power Rangers style. Where you can get 4 people together all piloting the same mech, which I have no clue how that works. But oh egad, I want to try it. I don't even care how bad it works. That needs to happen. That needs to happen yesterday. I need 4 people in the same mech trying to control it. What systems was that on? Okay, just PC, Xbox One, and PS4. Okay. very much out of nowhere, but it is a very nice looking game. I remember reporting on the beta for that a little while ago. Looks very promising. Let's see, was there anything kooky on Switch? Like I mentioned, Shantae and the Pirate's Curse specifically is supposed to be getting a physical release. Need to look a little bit more into that during the break. Oh, Rival Megagun! Rival Megagun is a Twinkle Star Sprites ripoff, which, honestly, we could use more games in the Twinkle Star Sprites genre. For those unfamiliar, Twinkle Star Sprites is a one-on-one competitive shooter where, like, shoot 'em up, top-down, old arcade style, spaceships and stuff. Screen is split in half, and as you blow up enemies on your side, it throws obstacles at your opponent's side of the screen. Twinkle Star Sprites, of course, pretty much invented this genre, but Toho, Phantasmagoria of Dim Dream and Phantasmagoria of Flower View also followed suit, and there was actually a version of Space Invaders that had a mode like that too, but for the most part, it's very Twinkle Star Sprites-esque, and Rival Megagun is an indie attempt at doing that, but this time with actual spaceships, as well as mixing in some elements of another shoot-'em-up, another competitive shoot-'em-up that I forget the name of, because the big twist with Rival Megagun is that your spaceship can transform into a boss ship and attack your opponent, rather than your boss attack just being automatic. I know there's actually a game built entirely around that mechanic, so that's actually pretty interesting. But yeah, so that's what's going on around here with new releases. Now it's time for us to take a quick break, and when we get back, we will begin with the video game news and information, of which we have all sorts of bizarre things going on, including some controversies that managed to get resolved between episodes, so that's good. Anyway, here is Where I Want to Be by Dawn Weber and EFA here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind. Thank you. That was Late Night by Contact here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind. I'm your host, Jell, and welcome to GameBabble Live, your video game news and information show, which airs every Tuesday from noon to 3 p.m. Although, having said that, it is very much worth noting that next week will be the last show of the year. So be sure to tune in for that. I will be sure to have, I don't know, I'll try to do something special, but last show of the year will be next week. We will be back the following year. At least that's my plan, but things will definitely be a bit funky because I am going to be taking some new classes to try to get certified as a lab assistant. And that is going to take up some time, definitely screw up my schedule. So I will likely not be back Tuesday from noon to 3 p.m. Next year. We'll figure out a time, though. We'll make it happen. And in order to keep up to date, just remember, there is a GameBabble YouTube channel. Technically, there's 2 GameBabble YouTube channels. Actually, technically, there's 3 GameBabble YouTube channels. But that third one belongs to 2 guys named Phil and Rick. I have no clue who they are. I had GameBabble first. So there's the GameBabble main channel. All one word. Actually, is it for the main channel? Whatever. GameBabble's supposed to be all one word. We have the main channel, and that's where I put up the archives of my streams and my actual episodes, which I desperately need to do a new one of. Only I recently found out that my new computer is not compatible with my old video editing software, so I need to do something about that. Good times. So that's where I put up, like, actual episodes of the show when I actually do them, as well as archives of the streams that I tend to do. And then we have the GameBabble Live archive, which is where we upload this show. If you haven't heard, if you missed an episode, want to listen to an old episode or whatever, there's a YouTube channel called GameBabble Live Archive, which has well over 60 episodes of GameBabble Live available to listen to on YouTube, or you can download the MP3s off of my Google Drive, and that'll do ya. So there you go. That's what's going on with the show. So definitely tune in next week for the last show of the year, but we will definitely still keep game babbling, because, well, without having to do the show on Tuesday, maybe I'll start streaming on Tuesdays. We will find out. But first of all, I believe we have some very interesting information, breaking rumors, but it's a pretty solid rumor. It sounds like they might be announcing a remake of Crash Team Racing. At the Game Awards this year. It says PlayStation Access Channel manager Holly Bennett teased the reveal on Twitter with a picture of two fuzzy dice and the text sliding into Game Awards 612. And the Crash Bandicoot Facebook page has updated their cover with their cover photo to what appears to be a Crash Team Racing flag. So, Crash Team Racing might be getting a remake. That could be very interesting. I know that there's a lot of fans for Crash Team Racing, and I've got my own reasons to be interested in Crash Team Racing. And one would expect, if they're remaking it, that it's going to have online play. That's going to be real interesting, because I know some people who take their Crash Team Racing very seriously. I know that it's a hard one to figure out, because at first it's like it's just Mario Kart, but with Crash Bandicoot. But it has a very interesting drift mechanic that has caused a lot of people to really love Crash Team Racing, to say nothing of course, the Diddy Kong Racing-esque adventure mode. So, yeah, a lot of people have been wanting a Crash Team Racing remake. There's been a lot of demand for it, and it makes sense. That is something people will definitely get excited for. I'm curious to see where they go with this, if they'll add in... Like, there's so much they could do with the Crash Team Racing remaster. Because, like, before they've been doing these trilogies, so you'd expect them to go further. You'd expect them to do more than just Crash Team Racing. Like, Crash Team Racing plus other stages, or maybe all three of the Crash Kart Racing games. You know, Crash Team Racing, Crash Nitro Kart, and Tag Team Racing, which I have a personal soft spot for Tag Team Racing, but that's not actually a good game. I liked it because I could beat the game without ever racing. It was a weird game. Anyway, so that's the thing. Anyway, getting back on the fail train. Where do we begin? Well, how about our good friend, the PlayStation Classic? If you haven't heard, the PlayStation Classic should be coming out soon, and it is a pile of garbage. PlayStation Classic, of course, it's a little mini console, kind of like the NES Classic and Super NES Classic, but it's PlayStation. Now, people were previously criticizing this console because, what the heck, it doesn't have analog sticks, and the selection of games was just not exactly the best selection of games, you know? It's 20 games, and there were some interesting ones on there. Intelligent Cube was a good pick. It was interesting seeing the hyper butchered Persona 1 on there. It's got FF7 and Wild Arms. It's got some pretty good picks. I actually like that Toshinden is on there. But so people were initially just like, what the heck's with these game picks? There are so many other games that should have been on here but aren't. That wound up being the least of its problems, though, as they later revealed that 9 of the games, nearly half of the games, were the PAL versions. PAL TVs run at 50 hertz. They are a higher resolution, but a lower frame rate. And in order to accommodate for this, many PS1 games just slowed themselves down to like 50 frames per second. They just ran funky in Europe. Tekken 3, which is one of the PAL games, in particular was famous for feeling like you were fighting underwater. And I hear that this is quite possibly the worst version of Battle Arena Toshinden ever. Someone fetch me my R-Zone. So, alright, that's bad, but then it turns out they're not even using a Sony-made emulator. They are using PCSXR, a fan-made emulator pretty much from 2003. And they are not really optimizing it very well. So even when you're playing like US NTSC games like Ridge Racer R4, well, that one runs very badly. It has frame rate issues and hiccups and slowdown that are not present on the original console. And I mentioned Battle Arena Toshinden. This is the thing that makes it even worse. The emulator has issues with the PAL games because it's trying to take these games running at 50 hertz and run them at 60 hertz. And so you wind up with the games running even worse with more frame rate issues. So Battle Arena Toshinden is running at 25 FPS with constant frame juddering. And, it's not good. Considering the price of the PlayStation Classic is not good at all. So, as it is, this is pretty sad. But you know what makes it magical? People have gotten their PlayStation Classics and they decided to plug in some USB keyboards and see what happens. Turns out that with certain brands of keyboards, you can hit the escape key and access the emulator menu, which gives you access to a few more hidden options. That's really, that's really just, wow. Just, wow. So, that's happening. Moving on, though, let's talk about the fails that are being recovered from. First and foremost, Fallout 76. So, Fallout 76 was kind of a disastrous release. Because Fallout is, it's kind of this beloved series, post-apocalyptic, free-roaming, open world, made by Bethesda. People tend to like it. Fallout 76 was their first attempt at taking Fallout online. And the idea was you'll be able to play with all these people, and it's going to be kind of a Fallout MMO, but not quite. And what they wound up getting was basically a Fallout version of Ark Survival Evolved and Rust and games like that. It's basically a survival game with a Fallout skin. The problem there is that survival games have already been done, and they've already been done better. Fallout 76 apparently has very unstable servers, it's incredibly glitchy, and the gameplay just isn't as good as other entries in the genre. What's more, the complete lack of NPCs in the game and complete lack of story, due to the fact that it's a survival game rather than a proper RPG, MMO, anything, has really disappointed people. So people already don't like Fallout 76. Upon further inspection, it turns out that it's running on the exact same engine Skyrim and I think even Oblivion were running on. So it's running on an over a decade old engine. And this is a really peculiar problem to look at. Because Bethesda, they've been a very popular company. They get their own presentation at E3. People tend to like Bethesda games, even though, if we're really honest with ourselves, they don't actually release very good games. They release very good shells of games that people fix with mods. But people loved their games because, as flawed as they were, they had these big, huge open worlds chock full of content and loads and loads and loads of detail. And trust me, I am no stranger to overlooking a game's numerous flaws because of the things you really like about it. I understand that. And at the time, no one was making games quite like Bethesda. And so they've made a good number of games, they've been doing good, but a lot of people now, a lot of companies, they've started following in Bethesda's footsteps. They've started making huge, free-roaming open-world games with incredibly detailed worlds, and this is starting to be a problem because Bethesda has been recycling that same engine over and over and over again for, over a decade now, and it's starting to really show its age. People are really looking at it and going, yeah, this is buggy. Yeah, this is not running the way it should. Yeah, this is not a good look. And now everyone else is kind of out Bethesdaing Bethesda. And they need to do something pretty drastic if they want to remain in people's good graces, especially after Fallout 76 being such a massive disappointment to many people. But the cherry on top has been the bag saga. You see, Fallout 76 had an expensive special edition that cost hundreds of dollars. I'm not allowed to say exact prices, but, it cost a couple hundred. And it came with a bunch of things. It came with a power armor helmet and some figurines. And one of the things was it was supposed to come with a canvas bag to put the helmet in. People got their power armored editions, and it came with a crappy nylon bag that was all wrinkled up and looked terrible. Well, someone decided to contact customer support about this, and the response they got was, oh yeah, the canvas bag was too expensive to produce, so we made nylon bags. We don't intend to do anything about this. That was their exact quote, was, we don't intend to do anything about this. And the outrage was immediate, because people already hated Fallout 76. And seeing this, it's like, really? This person paid hundreds of dollars for their copy of the game with all this extra stuff, and you cheap out on them? And this caused Bethesda to go, whoa, hold on. That person was an intern. They're not with our company. We're really sorry. Send us a proof that you bought the Power Armor Edition, and we'll reimburse you with 500 atoms. Those being the in-game currency, the in-game, basically microtransaction currency. Now again, I'm not allowed to give exact prices, but you can probably guess how much money 500 atoms is. Pro tip, it's not a lot. In fact, if you wanted an outfit that came with a canvas duffel bag in-game, that would cost you 700 atoms. So you couldn't even buy a fake version of the bag. And that's been something people have been laughing at a lot. But then things got even worse. Because, number one, people noticed, wait a second, this could be a scam. Because if there's a class action lawsuit, because this was false advertising, it wasn't just a picture of a canvas bag. They wrote, it comes with a canvas bag. If there was a class action lawsuit over this, and you accepted those 500 atoms, then you would not be eligible. Because you already accepted compensation, no matter how crappy and scammy it was. And so people were furious about Bethesda's terrible apology. And then it gets worse. Because then people found out, wait a second, game journalists and YouTube influencers who went to the, Fallout 76 pre-release party got canvas bags. They were a completely different canvas bag. They were more like backpacks, but they were nice. And same with people who went to QuakeCon. So, let me get this straight. The journalists who are supposed to cover your game not only get free copies of your game, but they get a free canvas bag. Meanwhile, the superfans that spent hundreds of dollars to get the special edition don't get canvas bags. They get crappy, crinkled up nylon bags. Yeah, that did not go over well. Now, it needs to be noted, this is nothing new. Usually people, when game journalists get to go to these pre-release events, they generally get a bit of swag from the company, and there's been some controversy over how much this sways reviews, but this is a well-known fact of the industry. That's not what's surprising. What's surprising is that you're going to give the reviewers and the YouTube influencers, you're going to give them canvas bags, but not the people who paid hundreds of dollars for your game. So, at this point, Fallout 76 has dug a hole all the way to the center of the earth with its sheer, I can't believe you did this, what in the entire heck, Bethesda? Well, they have recently announced they're going to make it right. They are making canvas bags. Submit a ticket to them about your nylon bag, with proof that you bought the Power Armor Edition and that you have this garbage nylon bag, and they will, you have to send them proof before January 31st, and they will send you a canvas bag. Thank you. This, I would have to say, was a very smart move, because let's just be honest, this isn't actually about the bag, it's about the principle of the thing. Not that many people bought this stupid special edition. And of the people who bought the stupid special edition, not that many really care about how terrible their bags are. But it's the fact that you release this terrible game, and even the special edition is extra bad with its stupid nylon bag. That there's not, like, even really a silver lining with, well, at least I got a good bag out of it. It's the fact that you were willing, that when people complained about this, you said, we have no intention of doing anything about it. It's the fact that you would give reviewers free canvas bags, but the people who paid good money for your game, they don't get canvas bags, they get screwed. That's what it's really about. It's about the principle of the thing. And I gotta be honest, this is a smart move, because let's just be honest here, maybe 1,000 people will actually request their canvas bags. It's not gonna be a lot. Those are some extra hoops you have to jump through. Not that many people care. It's only this very small percentage that are even going to jump through the hoops necessary to get their canvas bags. So it's not actually going to be that much money out of the company's pocket, especially if someone actually decided to go crazy and actually pull a class action lawsuit. No, this is way cheaper than that. So, good call, Bethesda, on that one. You saved your butt, but good. Now then, I do believe it is time for us to take a quick break before coming back. So here is Sunspotting by Foxing here on 89.5 FM KCFV, the Wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind. Thank you so much for listening, and stay tuned for more. That was Good Form by Nicki Minaj featuring Lil Wayne here on 89.5 FM, KCFV The Wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind. I'm your host, Jell, and welcome back to GameBabble Live, your video game news and information show, which airs every Tuesday from noon to 3 p.m., or at least it has been, but next week will be the last show of the year, so be sure to tune in for that. We will return next year at some time. Just not sure when. But stay tuned, because we have a GameBabble YouTube channel or two. Tune into those, and I will keep you updated as to when the new time will be. And, of course, I will keep the GameBabble Live archive updated. So, moving right along, let us move on with the other bit of controversy that is being remedied, and that would be Red Dead Online. Red Dead Redemption 2, of course, now has an online mode. It's entered its sort of open beta phase, and people have been very concerned because, of course, the people who made Grand Theft Auto Online is very, very caked in microtransactions. Microtransactions are getting nuts in games right now, and Red Dead Online doesn't have microtransactions yet, but it's going to. And we know that the microtransactions are going to involve bars of gold. Anything you buy with bars of gold, well, you'll be able to spend real money to get bars of gold, but you can also find bars of gold in-game. It takes 8 hours to farm a bar of gold. There are items that cost 50 bars of gold. People have complained about this. People have complained about this loudly, and they have announced they will be rebalancing the economy. Hopefully, because of course that is the purpose of a beta. Hopefully, this will work out. Now then, let's see. But while we're talking controversy, let's briefly dip our toes into mentioning Senran Kagura 7. There has been an interview with the creator of Senran Kagura, and he has revealed that, yeah, more than likely, there's his name, Kenichiro Takaki. He has announced that, yes, Sony is making it very hard for them to proceed, and more than likely the game will be prematurely censored. This is which definitely sucks. For anyone unfamiliar with Senran Kagura, it's kind of the Mortal Kombat of lewd games. It is very over the top, and the sheer shock value of it all is part of the appeal. Otherwise, it's a rock-solid little hack-and-slash game with some surprisingly likable characters and occasionally weirdly good writing in between the mostly bad writing. It's bizarre. It's a very interesting, lewd ninja combat game. Anyway, the series, the reason this is so disappointing, because it's like, hey, we've already got like almost 10 Senran Kagura games. On 7. Well, 7 was going to be the first really big one. See, the series started very, very, very low budget on the 3DS. And ever since then, it's gradually gained more popularity. The budget has gradually increased. The games have gradually improved in quality. And Senran Kagura 7 was going to be the first mainline entry on consoles. The first one built from the ground up for the PS4, because everything else had pretty much just been Vita ports. And it was going to be the first one they really put real time and effort and money into. They've already been working on it for I want to say 2 years, at least a year and a half. So they've been really putting time and effort into Senran Kagura 7. They're redoing all the character models. They were really polishing it. And now all of a sudden Sony decides to change their rules, and more than likely they're going to have to censor the game. And that really sucks. Now, of course, this is where someone's going to go, well, just release it on PC. Yeah, there's a little bit of a problem there. Japan doesn't play games on PC. They play games on console. They play games on PS4. They play games on Vita more than they play games on PC. Seriously. So, that is kind of a problem. You could release it on Switch, which they might, but it's been designed for PS4, which is much more powerful than the Switch. It might have frame rate issues if they do a Switch version. There's no guarantee they are going to do a Switch version. And even if it does come to PC or Switch, the game is still in development, so they're going to be doing some preemptive self-censoring because of this. And that kind of sucks. Thankfully, Senran Kagura Peach Ball is coming exclusively to Switch, and it looks amazing. I did not know pinball could be that lewd. I'm having a hard time waiting for the US release on that one. It just came out in Japan, and I have a soft spot for fantasy pinball, the ones that aren't based on real tables, where you actually have, monster targets and things running around the board, and Senran Kagura Peach Ball very much looks to be one of the flashiest pinball games I've seen in a good long while. I'm very excited to get my hands on it. But yeah, that is definitely a disappointment. In slightly related news, this is the most bizarre thing. So, Mithra from Xenoblade Chronicles 2 has a spirit in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. However, in order to maintain their E rating, they have opted to censor her costume ever so slightly, mostly covering up an area on the chest and giving her leggings. Now, I would understand this if she had a 3D model, but she doesn't. This is just a single 2D image, and I'm just like, really? You have to change that to keep your E rating? But you don't even... either there's something they're not telling us about Mithra. Either she gets a 3D model in this game somehow, or it's just weird. But here's the weirder thing. People really, really like Mithra in leggings, and have started drawing, lewd fan art of it. So much so, in fact, that Xenoblade Chronicles 2 has gone back and added that costume as an optional costume. Just free update. Fine, you want Mithra with leggings. Here's Mithra with leggings. I'm just like, okay, that's weird. Similarly, the character Mr. Game & Watch used to have a move where he dressed as a Native American. They have since removed the feather from that sprite, which is what they did back on the GBA release of that same game, which I believe the game that was based on was called Fire Attack. So, okay, fine, he's the GBA Mr. Game & Watch instead of the original. And he's never had... he's done that move in previous games, he just never had the feather. This was the first time where he actually did the full costume change. So, okay, that's getting changed as well. But now, on to something... while we're in this discussion zone, Time for something that really came out of nowhere and made me exceedingly happy. Galgun 2 on PC has had a VR mode added, and oh egad, you want to talk about night and day. Galgun 2 seriously changes from being the worst entry in the series to the best entry in the series if you play it in VR. It is amazing, because the game was very much designed for VR. And this is where we get into our very interesting little story, because of course you might be saying, wow, Galgun 2 has a VR mode, why doesn't it have it on PSVR? Oh my good friend, you know why. Let me tell you a story. So, Galgun is yet another lewd Japanese game with a hilarious origin. Basically, after after Capcom canceled all of their Mega Man games a few years back, remember that? They fired the guy who was in charge of the Mega Man series and canceled like 5 different Mega Man games. Well, they had been outsourcing development of Mega Man games. Mega Man 0 and ZX and 9 and 10 had actually been made by a company called Intercreates. And Intercreates has been involved in all sorts of side-scrolling games. It's sort of their specialty. And they're like, well, shoot, we don't have anything to do. Hey, everyone in the office, we need a game to make. Come up with a side-scrolling game idea. And someone decided to buck the trend, and they just wrote down, I was playing House of the Dead the other day, and I thought, man, I wish I was being chased by cute girls instead of zombies. And the people at the company looked at that suggestion and said, brilliant, we're making it happen. And that's Galgun. Galgun is a light gun rail shooter, similar in some ways to House of the Dead, where you shoot girls with the pheromone shot to make them very happy. Let's go with that. So it is a very silly game, and there's a reason the first one didn't get to come to America. I'm surprised the second and third one have. And second and a half. First game was released on Xbox 360 in Japan. It did that because the Xbox 360 in Japan was known for its lewd games. However, Microsoft had just released the Kinect. Many people were mistaking Galgun for a Kinect game because it was a light gun game, unaware that the Kinect is actually terrible for light gun games. And so they demanded that the game be censored. The company released a censored trailer, but then released the game uncensored. Microsoft caught this and forced them to censor it later. It was at this time that Sony actually relaxed their policies, and Galgun 1 got a vastly superior PS3 port that had Move support, which wound up making it like one of the best games in the series because it's a light gun shooter. It's one of the only ones we can play with light gun. But this didn't come to America. However, PS4 launches, and they released Galgun Double Peace, which, much to our surprise, wound up coming to America courtesy of P-Cube, a small upstart company at the time. And though you could download it digitally, if you want a physical copy, you had to special order it, which I did. I felt the second one had some strengths and some weaknesses. Once again, we didn't have light gun support for a light gun game, and so that certainly hurt it. Galgun 2, though, was then announced, and it sort of began development, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Galgun VR got released on PC. We were like, what? What is that? Okay, question number 1, why was there no fanfare for this? Where did this come from? And above all else, why doesn't this have a PlayStation VR release? It was very peculiar. However, once I got my hands on Happy Manager, I began to piece together a bit of the puzzle. With the release of Galgun 2, the puzzle became far more clear. Galgun 2 shared a lot of the same environments and characters and features as Galgun VR, but more fleshed out. But what's more, Galgun 2 made it very, very, very obvious it was supposed to be a VR game. Part of this was due to the fact that it shared so many similarities with Galgun VR, which was only available on Steam. Part of this was because it had a very VR-centric interface, wherein you looked at locations and clicked on them in order to move. You didn't smoothly move between locations, you teleported between them. And rather than the camera like actually moving around to give you the best view of the action, you personally moved the camera and even had a motion control system where you moved pretty much your entire viewpoint by tilting the controller, almost like it was a VR headset. Oh, and that's not even getting into the fact that the entire plot revolves around getting a VR headset stuck on your head. No joke. The plot is that you get a magic VR headset that gets stuck on your head, and you can't take it off until you beat the demon-busting quota. That's the plot. The game pretty much comes out and says, I was supposed to be a VR game. And it baffled people. They were like, why isn't this a VR game? And sure enough, now that it finally has VR support, when it got released on PC, people started poking in there and found kind of an unfinished VR mode. And now we finally have a finished VR mode, which makes the game so much better. And the picture becomes clear. Now, this is purely speculation based on copious amounts of evidence, as no one can officially say anything about this due to non-disclosure agreements. However, what I know and what I've observed make it very obvious what happened. Galgun 2 was supposed to be a VR game, but partway through development, Sony changed their rules, and they said that there is no touching at all in VR, and that includes like any sort of physical interaction you could have with a female character in VR is banned on PlayStation, even in Japan. This started before they started getting really crazy with their censorship recently. And so this probably happened right as they were finishing up the VR support, and they were like, well, shoot, this game was designed for VR. It's super fun in VR, and now we have to remove the VR from our VR game. So they took an unfinished beta of Galgun 2, threw it up on Steam, did a little bit of polish, called it Galgun VR. It is very clear Galgun VR is just an unfinished version of Galgun 2, but with the VR support that they were forced to cut. And then, of course, Galgun 2 comes out, and it has no VR support, but it, makes it very obvious it was supposed to have VR support. And there's a reason for that, because, of course, the game was already too far in development to change it that much, but also as sort of an act of rebellion. You see, developers can't actually say, hey, Sony is forcing us to change our games, but they can leave in flagrantly obvious hints that make you scratch your head and go, did Sony demand this game to be censored? And the answer is yes, they did. They absolutely did. Unquestionably at this point, now with their recent escapades. I mean, cripes, did I mention the fact that the PS4 release of Nekopara is E-rated? Yeah, Sony has gone nuts with this. And now with the VR release on Galgun 2 on PC, it makes it like you can't deny this was supposed to be a VR game, and it is so much better in VR. But fair warning. If you are using a Windows Mixed Reality headset, you will have some hoops to jump through. I use Windows Mixed Reality. After 3 days and 8 hours of screaming, we did manage to fix it. You'll find the thread on it on the Steam message board. You see, it's the dumbest thing. Galgun 2 was built in Unreal Engine 4.18. And for some reason, Unreal Engine 4.18 accidentally broke compatibility with Windows Mixed Reality headsets. They worked just fine in 4.17, they worked just fine in 4.19, but Galgun 2 was made in 4.18, and the only way for them to fix this would be to recompile Galgun 2 in 4.19. You can't just upgrade it. What happens, the game plays perfectly fine in Windows Mixed Reality, but everything has this fisheye lens effect. This didn't affect me too much other than breaking some of my immersion, but to other people it made them instantly nauseous because, of course, as you look around, the proportion of the entire world warps and shifts in 3D. It can be a little nausea-inducing. So I was like, gee, how are we going to fix this? And someone said, oh, when we did the fan-made patch, we also had this problem. We just ran it through Revive. Revive is a program that lets you run Oculus Rift games on the HTC Vive, right? Makes your Vive think it's an Oculus. But you're using Windows Mixed Reality. But if you're using Windows Mixed Reality with Steam, Steam is making your Windows Mixed Reality think it's a Vive. So what you need to do is you need to trick your Windows Mixed Reality into thinking it's a Vive being tricked into thinking it's an Oculus. Unfortunately, the newest version of Revive broke compatibility with this game and causes it to instantly crash. You still need to use that version, but you need to get .dll files from a previous version of Revive, and then you need to copy-paste over some things in order to get the controls to work. You gotta go into your control settings and tell it the trigger button is the trigger button, the analog stick is the analog stick, and so on. And once someone did put up just a downloadable button assignment that you can just grab off of Steam once you get it all working. But after jumping through numerous hoops, I have finally gotten it working. It is possible. Oh, but if you put it on and like the frame rate seems bad and the screen's all like stuttering around and shaking, go to options, turn down the resolution. You are sending a resolution that just isn't compatible with your Windows mixed reality, or possibly the Vive it thinks it is. I don't know. Either way, it's a resolution issue. It doesn't know how to handle the resolution that's being sent to it. Turn down the resolution. It should run fine. I got it working. Whew, but it was a pain in the butt. Worth it, though, because as I mentioned earlier, light gun games are freaking great in VR, and that's what Galgun is. Galgun 2 being a particularly robust one. However, as nice as that is, we do need to take a break. So, here is, I Know What You Did Last Summer by Shawn Mendes and Camila Cabello here on 89.5 FM, KCFV, The Wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind. Thank you so much for listening, and stay tuned for even more. That was Suit and Jacket by Judah and the Lion here on 89.5 FM, KCFV, The Wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind. I'm your host, Jell, and welcome back to GameBabble Live, the show that generally airs every Tuesday from noon to 3 p.m., but next week is our last show of the year. Don't worry. We will come back next year, but not sure what time, so stay tuned to the GameBabble YouTube channels. Just search them up. You'll find them eventually. I trust you. And we will keep you posted on when GameBabble will return. And even if it returns at some stupid hour, don't worry, because we will still have the GameBabble Live archive on YouTube, where we archive all of our episodes for your listening pleasure. Moving on, let's see where to go from here. You know what? Let's talk about the Pokemon movie. Because last week I realized, I do the new anime in theaters announcements on this show every week, and I hadn't seen a new anime in theaters in quite a few months, and I was curious about the new Pokemon movie, so I decided, heck with that, I'll go out and I'll see it, and I was pleasantly surprised. See, I had forgotten that people hated the reboot series. Well, the previous reboot, that is. Where do we begin? Okay, so Pokemon, the anime, has been on TV for more than 20 years now. And for their 20th anniversary, they had a crazy idea of rebooting the movie franchise, creating an alternate movie universe. Because Pokemon, they kind of felt like Pokemon, the anime, was getting stale. So, for Sun and Moon, they radically changed the art style and direction and everything, making Pokemon into a very different anime than what it had been. Although, admittedly, that kind of started with X, Y, and Z, where Pokemon actually really ramped up the action factor and wound up becoming a surprisingly solid shonen battle anime, aside from some scripting issues and some voice acting issues. And then for Sun and Moon, they were like, hey, we're gonna really mix things up. We're gonna go with the simpler, goofier art style, which will allow us to do more expressive characters, and will make it more slice of life-ish and silly. Some people like it, some people hate it. I'm certainly not a fan of the new art style. And then for the movies, they were like, we're going to just put them in a separate universe. Because every single Pokemon movie up until then had been a continuation of the anime series, with these questionably canon spin-offs where, hey, everyone, let's go bump into a legendary and fight an evil person trying to take over the world with said legendary. And honestly, the quality of a lot of the movies was starting to lag. Like, they weren't really looking like movies anymore. They were looking like slightly better TV episodes. And it's like someone said, how about we make a Pokemon movie that feels like a movie? So, they tried to reboot the whole thing with Pokemon I Choose You, which did not go over well at all. Because their reboot was essentially, okay, let's retell the greatest hits of Pokemon Season 1 minus Brock and Misty. Yeah, that didn't go over well. They replaced them with two random people that were barely explored at all. People really didn't like it. It had some good fight scenes and some good animation, but in general, people were not a fan of Pokemon I Choose You. Blech. I admit I never saw it. Kind of kicked it around for a minute, but never saw I Choose You. This is the second movie in the reboot series. And I have to say, number one, you don't need to have watched anything prior to enjoy it. And number two, it's like they took all of the complaints into account. Pokemon The Power of Us wound up being a way, way better movie than I expected. And the title is like the perfect title, especially the Japanese one. The Japanese name of the movie is Pokemon Everyone's Story. And that sums it up perfectly, because this movie doesn't really have one main character. It has like 5 different stories all tied together by Ash. Ash is really not the main character of the movie. He is the glue that ties everything together and the one that says embarrassing corporate slogans. We'll get to that in a minute. But there is seriously more screen time devoted to Callahan and Pseudo-Wudo than there is for Ash and Pikachu. So for any Pseudo-Wudo fans out there, you need to see Pokemon The Power of Us. It is the Pseudo-Wudo movie, and I am very happy to see that. A friend of mine actually used to main Pseudo-Wudo. Pseudo-Wudo and Radian were his like main Pokemon. And so that made me kind of happy. And so the movie is very much set in sort of the gold and silver era. It's got Pokemon from outside of that, but it's focusing on that. And the idea is, hey, there's a big old wind festival being held at this one city, and Lugia's going to show up, and it's going to grant them some wind. They use a lot of wind power, and yeah, that's all super fantastic. And all these characters all wind up going to this festival, and it opens by introducing us to Risa. Don't worry, we're going to stay spoiler-free. But it opens by introducing us to Risa, who is sort of a high school girl who isn't really all that interested in Pokemon, but her little brother, who has a broken leg, asks her to go to the festival and catch up a Pokemon. And she sort of plays sort of the beginner role in the story. She could easily be considered the main character. They actually introduce her to us before Ash ever shows up. The other one that I would say is the main focus is Callahan, who's an older guy, and his niece is like really, really sick, but he wants to take her to the festival, and he lies and brags a lot to make his niece happy, and his lies eventually catch up with him. There is also a scientist who is incredibly timid and has a hard time standing up for himself. Ash and Pikachu show up as well. And then there's also the whole deal with, like, the mayor's daughter and Zeraora and the curse of this mountain and so on. And thanks to Ash, all of these different story threads all get tied together into a cohesive whole. First of all, the animation was shockingly good. The entire movie felt like Pokemon tries to do an impersonation of Studio Ghibli, and obviously they fall short. But at the same time, not a bad thing to try to aim for. The movie looked very good. It actually felt like a movie. The plot was very different. It was not about an evil organization trying to capture a legendary Pokemon to take over the world. There was no evil organization or even central villain to the story. I don't want to get too far into it, but it really wasn't about that. It was suitably epic, but it wasn't really about fighting a main villain. On that note, it didn't have as many fight scenes as the previous movie. The fight scenes it had were very impressive, but it didn't have as many. Also, I gotta say, the dub was good, and this is coming from someone who, I admit, I have not liked the Pokemon dubs ever since Nintendo took over from 4Kids, which feels so weird to say, because I hate 4Kids, but if they did anything right, it was the Pokemon TV series, and only the TV series. Their movie localizations were questionable, but the dub was very well handled. Apparently, Lisa Ortiz was actually the voice director for it, and she did a bang-up job, I must say. They got the voices to sound close enough to the originals while also having a greater vocal range and being more emotional, which they certainly needed to. And let me tell you, watching this movie in theaters was a surreal experience. Because I just rewatched the US version of Pokemon, the first movie, Mewtwo Strikes Back, over on Twitch. And, wow, that is a really bad localization. I've seen it subtitled. Know how bad that localization is. So seeing, like, how bad that turned out, and then seeing this actually respectful movie dub is shocking. Like, it doesn't have any shoehorned in pop songs. They have an original song for the end credits. And, like, they translated it well, they dubbed it well. It turned out really good. I wouldn't say, like, it's mind-blowing and a must-see and a true classic or anything, but, if you've ever wanted to see a Pokemon movie that felt like a Pokemon movie, The Power of Us kind of, like, actually pulled it off. It's a bit of a shame that it's out of theaters now, because it was one of those special Fathom event things, and I don't want to think about how much money I spent to go see it. But boy, am I glad I saw it, even if the pre-show was ludicrous. For the pre-show, they showed every single opening for all of the Pokemon animes in English, and then started to repeat while also showing random clips and who's that Pokemon things. Then they did like an interview with the creator of the movie before the movie, as well as showing 2 episodes of the Pokemon Generation miniseries before finally getting to the movie. Like, I swear, it was like a half-hour pre-show. I was worried I was going to be late for the film, especially with how big the line was for concessions. Nope, that was fine. That was great. So, yeah, that was a fun movie. I had a lot of fun watching it in theaters. I really liked it. I was very impressed by it. But I do need to talk about the worst part of the movie, which was Ash. Ash is corporate slogan man in the movie. And this is the big problem with the film. Because, yeah, there's not a lot of Ash in it, and that's fine. I like the fact that it focused on these one-off movie exclusive characters. You might think that's a cop-out, but it actually works out really well. Because when you think about it, every film is about one-off movie exclusive characters. It tells a complete arc for these characters, and that's what this movie does. This is why Ash is actually kind of bad as a movie protagonist. Because he's Ash. You can't give him really a complete movie arc where he learns a lesson if he's going to go back to the TV series. And even if you do that, like, okay, fine, you do an arc with him in one movie, what do you do next movie? What do you do the movie after that? There's only so many character arcs and developments you can have with a character like Ash. So them sort of sidelining him as just being the glue that ties everyone together worked out really well. He still gets plenty of screen time, but he's not the main character. It's really about these movie exclusive characters. And I think that was a brilliant idea on the part of the filmmakers. But when Ash opens his mouth, he says some dumb things that make me cry. Mostly because it makes the entire movie feel like a commercial. And that's a shame. Because everyone goes into a Pokemon movie thinking, oh, this is just a lengthy commercial for the newest Pokemon products. It's not a real movie. And this, like, really tried to be a real movie, and then Ash had to open his mouth. There were, like, 2 particular lines, he said. One was about how when there's something you can't do, you can do it with a Pokemon pal by your side. And the other one is about how Pokemon make humans stronger, and he calls that Pokemon power. Oh! It's so bad. It hurts. The movie was so good, and then Ash had to open his stupid mouth and start spitting dumb corporate slogans. You can hear Ash getting paid off screen, and he's a fictional character. Dang it! And that's easily the worst part of the movie. I mean, I guess the fact that it doesn't have as many battles as the previous movie might be seen as a negative as well. Personally, really liked the movie. Thought it turned out well. Yeah, was just really surprised. I'm kind of disappointed it's not still in theaters. I almost see it again. I had a good time seeing it, though. Had a good time. Let's see. That sums that up. What can we discuss real quick? Something I forgot to mention. While we're talking Pokemon, let's just keep going with that before we take our next break. First of all, if you have a copy of Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu or Let's Go Eevee, you get a Partner Pikachu and Partner Eevee Spirit in Smash Ultimate. These can be earned through regular gameplay. But if you have the save files, you unlock them instantly. So, hey, little bonus for you all. Meanwhile, Niantic has released Brock and Misty costumes for Pokemon Go based on their Pokemon Let's Go outfits. And they have teased Pokemon Go PvP with a useless screenshot, and now, just recently, they have said it is coming December 2018. So, sometime this month, we will get PvP for Pokemon Go. But if you are expecting it to be real Pokemon, of course it will not be. It is some kind of real-time battle thing, similar to what you already see, but slightly tweaked. So anyone really hoping they could, hoping it would have like the classic Pokemon battle system will be disappointed. But it will apparently let you battle people over the internet, so that is very nice at the very least. Gonna be interesting to see how this all completely falls apart, because let's just be honest, it's going to completely fall apart. It's Niantic. They have a history with these kinds of things. Anything else to mention? Oh, and Nintendo is ending the Nintendo Creators Program. Thank goodness. Now, that probably sounds like a bad thing, but in reality, it's the best thing. See, a couple years ago, there was actual discussion about whether or not people should be making money off of gameplay of different video games. Because there were certain Let's Players making more money than the developers of some games. And so companies were like, hey, we should get a cut of the money that these people are getting for playing our games. And a lot of people were like, are you stupid? No, you don't get to do that. If you're... my personal opinion was, if I can get all the enjoyment out of your game by watching someone else play it, then you made a bad game. Your game is not a game, it is a movie. If I could just watch all the cutscenes and that's all that matters. If I could just watch someone else play it and that's that, then you didn't make a good game. A good game is a game where you want to play it and also watch other people experience it, which is what happens with me. Like, when I really enjoy a game, I can't wait to see other people's reactions to my favorite games, and I watch them on Twitch, and it's fantastic. And that's what happens when you make a good game. A bad game is one where, yeah, I can just watch it on YouTube, and that's that. That's my personal opinion, and I'm like, you all need to do something to step your game up. Which, admittedly, they have corrected that. They're starting to realize, oh wait, people streaming is big business. We should make games that are more streamable, and so they've been doing that. That's good. But this during this whole kerfluffle, Nintendo decided to roll out a thing called the Nintendo Creators Program, where basically, if you played Nintendo games, Nintendo gets to copyright them and take all the money from your video, but you can sign up for their creator program to get a cut of the money you earned from your video. Yeah, they've decided to finally end that, because a bunch of people who really, really like Nintendo games were eventually saying, you know what, we can't keep doing this because Nintendo keeps taking all of our money for our gameplay, so we're not going to do their games anymore. Screw them. So it's a good thing Nintendo has finally ended that, because I doubt it made them any useful money. It just annoyed people. So good. Only took them a couple years. They finally learned their lesson. Anyway, time for us to take another quick break. And when we break, I'm good at talking. When we get back, we will discuss more video game news and information. Although I do admit I am running a little on the low side, I'm sure I'll be able to rustle something up. Anyway, coming at you next is Back Again by You Me at 6 here on 89.5 FM, KCFV The Wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind. Thank you. That was Happier by Marshmello featuring Bastille here on 89.5 FM, KCFV The Wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind. I'm your host, Jell, and welcome to GameBabble Live, your video game news and information show, which generally airs every Tuesday from noon to 3 p.m. However, next week will be our last show of the year, so be sure to tune in for that. I will try to do something to make it special. After that, it is going to be, we will try to return next year. We'll keep you posted on the GameBabble YouTube channels. And even if you don't tune in, remember we have our GameBabble Live archive, which will certainly let you know when the show is back. But even when we're off the air, we will still be doing our streams, and maybe I'll actually get an episode out, though now I have to fix problems with the fact that my computer won't run my video editing software properly. It's a dumb thing. Like, it technically works, I just can't see what I'm doing. It won't update the preview image, because apparently I have to roll back my NVIDIA drivers to 2013, which is before the graphics card I even have was released. So I'm not sure if that really works, and even if it does, it's going to cause problems for other things. So tonight I'm hoping to try out a open source video editing solution before finally biting the bullet and upgrading my software. And this is admittedly a bit on the old side, but still very annoying, because video editing software is stupidly expensive, and it does not make me happy to have to upgrade that. Anyway, so admittedly, not a lot of other video game news to report, but I will do what I can. Let's see what we can find. First of all, apparently The Darkness, The Bureau, XCOM Declassified, and Duke Nukem Forever have been added to Xbox One backwards compatibility. You know, it's backwards compatibility no one asks for. Well, someone might like The Darkness. Let's see. Toe Jam and Earl Back in the Groove apparently launches March 1st, so that's good. Override Mech City Brawl has revealed its first DLC character, which is a giant robot unicorn named Stardust that shoots the more you know star at you. So that's good. Found out Override Mech City Brawl actually has a physical release, too. So I plan to be picking that up, definitely. Because I've been interested in that game for a hot minute. Sounds like the Game Awards, which are coming up, will certainly be interesting. They'll be showing the trailer for Rage 2, and as I mentioned earlier, Crash Team Racing sounds like it will also be present at the Game Awards. I don't know when the Game Awards are. Oh, this week. There we go. When are the Game Awards? Game Awards is set to be broadcast December 6th at 2018 at 5:30 Pacific Time, 8:30 Eastern Time, and December 7th, 1:30 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time, 10:30 a.m. Japan Standard Time. Good times. Yeah, these are usually a joke, but I'm interested in the trailers. The Game Awards used to be, they have kind of an interesting history, don't they? Because they used to be the Spike TV Game Awards. And then they were the laughingstock of the internet, and then they were going to stop doing them, and Jeff Keighley just outright bought them and made them the Game Awards, and they just, they'll be on, like, Twitch and stuff, and YouTube. They'll be just streaming online. They're still a little bit of a joke, but at the same time, they're one of those things that feels right, because, video games don't have an equivalent to the Oscars, and it's not strange for us to feel like they kind of deserve one. But unfortunately, figuring out how best to choose what games get nominated and show up for it tends to be more than a little bit of a mess. It's a lot harder to do a video game award show than you would think. Because it's like, especially because the way they do it is they actually let, like, users vote for what games they want, and so they don't vote for games that they haven't played. Popular games have a huge amount of bias towards them. Obviously, in order to put on such a show, there needs to be funding, so of course there's advertisements. There's a lot of stupid things that wind up gumming up the works, but as much as we like to point and laugh at them, I think Jeff Keighley has been doing as good a job as anyone can do with something like the Game Awards. It's pretty hard to get it right, especially like I guess the idea would be that there should be a panel of judges that have played all of the games and are rating them fairly, but that's really hard to pull off. Honestly, even like the Oscars and the Academy Awards don't really pull that off. There's always bias. Just talk to anyone who's a fan of animation and how badly they feel like animation gets screwed over. In a lot of these cases where it's like, oh hey, Disney and Pixar just win by default in the animation category. Most people admit they don't even watch the animated movies, and they sort of get partitioned off into their own thing. And that definitely annoys people. It's hard to find that right balance between user votes and judge votes. Maybe if they set up a system where it actually, I would be admittedly running on the honor system here, but where it asked you, what games have you played and what games would you pick? So that way people who haven't played a game, it wouldn't vote against them. Like, what if you actually totaled up the votes as, if someone hasn't played a game, their vote doesn't count against that game. Like, you average your votes. So, if Smash Ultimate and Red Dead Redemption 2 were both voted for Game of the Year, and Smash Ultimate got, like, we're gonna go with low numbers, but, like, if 100 people played Smash Ultimate and 55 voted it Game of the Year, and 200 people played Red Dead Redemption 2 and 100 voted it Game of the Year, then it would go off of averages and Smash would win? I'm not sure if that'd be better or worse. It would definitely that would actually give the lesser games, it would make the votes a bit too strong for them. You'd have to nerf the games that no one plays, because then, 5 people played this game and 3 of them voted it Game of the Year. Oh, that one wins. It'd be tricky. It would be tricky. It's the kind of thing you might need a little bit of manual handling. Like, don't just, here's the full votes, like a combination of the fan votes and, like, the judge votes. It's a hard thing to do. You gotta be honest. it is really hard to figure out how you would nominate things for the Game Awards, how to do the votes properly, and so on. And, yeah, it's a thing. I don't know, just something I'm thinking about here. Because, like I said, not a whole lot of news to bring up. Let's just get the rest of the news out of the way. That's what we'll talk about after the break. Okay, that's good. Forgot about that. That was at the top of my list. First of all, Koei Tecmo seems to be teasing a new game they're going to announce soon. And it was just a page full of fire with the text, "The Fated Battle Begins." And everyone was like, oh man, it's going to be a new Ninja Gaiden. No, it's probably a new Musou. And then 2 horses showed up, and it looks like it's going to be a Winning Post game, which is a horse racing game. Which sounds really dumb until you remember how big horse racing is in Japan. Well, okay, fine, maybe we need a new Winning Post. Maybe I should play a Winning Post game one of these days. Look kind of fun. Let's see. There's that. Oh! About the limited run games thing, about Shantae and the Pirate's Curse. Yeah, it does not come out this week. Pre-orders start this week. The way limited run games works is you have to go to their website and pre-order games off of it, and then they order that number of copies. They only do, like they say, a limited run of games. You have to pre-order them in order to get them. And then they ship them to you, and they're not really carried in stores. Apparently, like, Best Buy carried a few of them, but it probably was, but whatever. Apparently, so limited run games has a very weird way of doing things, because they only produce things in limited quantities, because, of course, their whole shtick is that they take, like, digital games that weren't going to get physical releases and give them physical releases. Which I appreciate. As a collector, I very much appreciate that, and that's part of why they do it as limited run. And I talked to them at Mo Gamescom last year, and they said, yeah, we're an incredibly small company, so any overstock that we have drastically hurts our company. They can't afford any overstock because they are so small, and they do work in such a niche. And that's why you have to pre-order your games. They only have limited copies. So, I guess it looks like this Thursday, you'll be able to pre-order Shantae and the Pirate's Curse for Switch if you want a physical copy of that from Limited Run Games. I mentioned that PS Classic is garbage. Digital Foundry has their video up on it, which I think they were way too nice in it. I think they dragged it out very long without really getting to the meat and potatoes of how badly the freaking thing fails. But they do get to that. Let's see. Oh, Samurai Warriors 4 Deluxe is coming to PS4 and Switch. Mostly it's just, Samurai Warriors 4, but hey, it has all the DLC, and this is a good excuse to slap it on Switch. And actually, if I remember looking at this release list, let me click it to North America. If I'm not mistaken, I think, didn't I see Dynasty Warriors 8 Extreme Legends Complete Edition comes out in North America for Nintendo Switch on the 27th of December. So, that's a thing. And, yeah. That's... Oh boy, is that a thing. And, yeah. I don't know what else to say there. Moving on, though. Like I said, Crash Team Racing potentially getting a release. I think people will be very excited about that. I'm curious to see how it turns out. Curious to see what they do to make it worthwhile. If it's going to be a budget release, or if they're just going to add a bunch of content, or what they plan on doing. Either way, I do believe now is a good time to take a break. So here is Love It by Kanye West featuring Little Pump here on 89.5 FM, KCFE, The Wave, diverse music for your diverse mind. Thank you so much for listening. And stay tuned for just a little bit more of GameBabble. was last time that I checked by Nipsey Hussey featuring YG here on 89.5 FM KCFV, the Wave, diverse music for your diverse mind. I'm your host, Jel, and welcome back to GameBabble Live, your video game news and information show, which generally airs every Tuesday from noon to 3 p.m., but next week will be our last show of the year, so be sure to tune in for that, and then we will be back next year. Don't know what time, but we'll figure something out. Stay tuned to the GameBabble YouTube channels. Not only do we have the regular GameBabble channel, where I upload my streams and actual episodes when I get them done, but we also have the GameBabble Live archive, where I upload this radio show for you to listen to on YouTube, or you can download off of the Google Drive links provided in the description. Just search them up on YouTube. You'll bump into them one way or another. Just know that my name is neither Phil nor Rick. There's apparently another GameBabble, but they have a space in their names. They're completely different. Anyway, so, was about to talk about something else, but few things. First of all, number one, apparently, they're going to be making another Asterix and Obelix game. XXL 3 is scheduled to come out next year. No sign of a US release, but certainly it's getting a European release. I still have not played XXL 2, which has just recently gotten a fancy release. I've heard good things about it, but my mind is kind of blown because it is so much cheaper on Steam than it is on any console, and that slightly annoys me, especially because on console it is digital only. So I'm almost thinking of getting it on Steam. I don't know. Do want to play the game though. Moving on though. So I decided to look up how to get characters in Smash Ultimate, because one of the things, Smash Ultimate, of course, comes out this Friday. Super hyped about it. But what a lot of people seem to forget is that at the start of the game you only have 8 characters out of like 75. And that's a little bit of a funky thing. You know, everyone's going to get together, we're all going to play Smash, we're all going to realize, oh wait, that's right, all the characters aren't here. Now, you do unlock them by playing the game, and they're supposed to unlock relatively fast, but I don't know, well, how we're supposed to unlock them. Well, I looked it up, and thank goodness for the internet, people who have their early copies have made a spreadsheet explaining how the characters unlock. There are 3 different modes you can unlock characters in. You have World of Light, which is pretty much your single-player story mode. Classic mode, which they are stating may not be accurate, and that's sort of your classic... Well, it's a classic mode. It's the one where you fight a couple different specialty battles. There's probably a fighting polygon team type thing. There's an end boss. And then you can also just unlock them by playing a whole bunch of versus mode. And versus mode, everything unlocks in a specific order. It's actually a very interesting order. You get King K. Rool relatively quickly. You get K. Rool after Jigglypuff. Gotta get a little bit further down. But I don't know if everyone unlocks in versus mode. It looks like most characters, but not everyone unlocks in versus mode. Let me see if I can find Richter on there. Is Richter on there? Ken unlocks by playing versus. There's Richter. Okay, that's good. Daisy and Richter are both unlockable. In versus mode, they're just a little ways in. Looks like you unlock Inkling really early on. But if there's a specific character you want, there is a spreadsheet that tells you, oh, hey, you do this, you unlock them in World of Light by doing this thing. Let's see. How to unlock Wolf. World of Dark Mysterious Dimension. Alright. Or you unlock Wolf by playing through Classic mode as Peach. Interesting. Oh geez, Cloud is... Can Cloud be unlocked by regular player? Is he one that we gotta jump through hoops for? I do not see Cloud. Oh, there's Cloud. He happens after Dark Pit, before Duck Hunt. And then after Duck Hunt is Ken. Wow, Mewtwo's really far down in there. But still, yeah, it does not show everyone unlocking in versus mode, just most people. And Rosalina, World of Dark, top middle route, Dark Realm. So yeah, There is a spreadsheet online to help you get your main unlocked as fast as possible. I'm very curious to see how this all goes down. I will need to download this spreadsheet when I get home, because I know I'm going to be making a beeline to all my favorites. That's for darn sure. How do I get my boy Rob? How do I get Mewtwo? Huh. Yeah, Bob, Mewtwo does not unlock in classic mode as far as we know. Interesting. That might be a pain in the butt. All right. Anyway, so we do have guides for that. But anyway, one last thing I wanted to talk about is that Temtem has entered early backer access, it seems. One night I was on Twitch and I noticed that someone I was following who streams a lot of Pokemon was indeed playing Temtem. For those of you unfamiliar, Temtem is the world's most flagrant Pokemon ripoff, and it is being, it's sort of like a Pokemon ripoff kinda MMO thing, and it was being kickstarted. Now, I understand, probably better than anyone else, that just because someone has a game where you capture and battle monsters doesn't make it a Pokemon ripoff. Monster training simulations are a genre I happen to be particularly fond of. However, with Temtem, it's freaking obvious. Basically, like, just look at any footage of Temtem and you notice, oh, not only do the graphics look incredibly Pokemon-esque, but the general way the presentation is, the way the battles go, the way trainer encounters go, the way the interface works, the way the battle system works. Shoot, the actual Steam page for Temtem even says that it is inspired by Pokemon. It is actually close enough that Nintendo could honestly sue them. Which I'm wondering if that was their plan. Because, of course, if they just said, hey, we're going to make a sort of Pokemon-like monster training game, and it didn't look nearly identical to Pokemon, they put it on Kickstarter, and it does okay. They put this thing up on Kickstarter where it looks identical to Pokemon, and people go, yo, it's Pokemon, but online, I gotta back that. And then Nintendo sends them the cease and desist, and they alter the presentation so Nintendo doesn't sue them. I'm convinced that was their plan, but Nintendo hasn't gotten off their butt and getting around to suing them. The thing that blew my mind, though, was the music. Because the music for Temtem sounds really, really similar to a lot of Pokemon music. I'm just saying. It's pretty close. You know what? I need to see. Let me get on the internet. Let me see if I can find some of that music. Maybe I can play it for you. Temtem music. See if I can find that. Temtem Overture. Variation. No, we're just gonna play the Temtem Overture and see if this is one of the songs I was thinking of. Turn on the computer and let's take a listen. You can kind of hear a little bit of Pokemon in that one, but that one wasn't too bad. Temtem battle music. This is what I'm looking for. Yeah, so as you can hear, the instrumentation on that is very unusual, but when you hear the notes, it's like those are really close. Sounds really close to a Pokemon battle theme. I'm just saying it's really close. I was saying it kind of sounds like Nintendo could sue you. Which, it has to be their plan. It just absolutely has to be. But the problem with making a Pokemon knockoff is it's really hard to copy Pokemon without, like, looking like an idiot. If you copy it that closely. Which they are. And it's like, yeah, when you design a fake Pokemon, it looks like a fake Pokemon. You know, oh, look, it's a Nidoran with holes in its ears, but it's also a deer. It's probably the best looking one they've got in there. Oh, look at the Fira with the green mask. Yeah. It's hard to get the monster designs right. It's hard to get the trainer designs right. It's hard to do a lot of those kind of things. It's hard to knock off Pokemon properly. But I'm a little curious about Temtem. It might be fun. We'll see how it develops. Did not back it, but we'll see what state it's in when it actually comes out. I would not mind poking at it. But, yeah. Yeah, so there is that. Watching people play Temtem on Twitch was kind of funny. So, do believe that wraps up the show for today. I have literally no clue what else to say. Hope y'all enjoy your games. I can't wait for Smash. I've got a friend of mine is setting up a Smash party. I know a lot of people are setting up Smash parties because it's freaking Smash. We're all very excited for this. Gonna get in. So I'm so excited. I'm as excited for the party as I am for the Smash. Really, very happy about that. Oh yeah, forgot to mention the rest of Tekken 7 Season 2 being revealed. Like Marduk and Armor King are out now, but they showed Julia Chang as well. Her new character design is very interesting looking. I guess they decided that the Native American look she had been rocking was a bit too offensive. So she now has a very interesting hipster look that actually kind of works for her. It is what it is. And I know people are very happy to see Julia back because usually either Julia or Michelle Chang is in a Tekken game and she wasn't in Tekken 7. So and there was no really covering her playstyle. So good to have her back. Other than that, I don't know. Like I said, so to reiterate, next week will be the last episode of GameBabble Live for the year, before everyone goes on their Christmas breaks. And I'll try to do something special for it. I make no guarantees, but I do want to do a last episode of the year special. Coming back next year, but I am signing up to get certification to be a lab assistant. Very excited about that, but that means that my time is going to be a smidge on the eaten up side, and as such, I will almost certainly have to change my showtime, especially because there are already people gunning for this slot for next year. So I will not be airing the show at this time, but like I said, we've got a GameBabble channel, we've got a GameBabble Live archive, both on YouTube that you can find. Just search GameBabble, all one word, and you should slam face first into something GameBabble related. And I will certainly post a video letting you know when the show goes back on the air, what the hours are going to be. And, of course, the episodes will be uploaded to the GameBabble Live archive anyway. Shoot, like, even if they denied me the show, I would probably, like, just upload episodes of GameBabble Live archive. But like I said, even when the show's off the air, I'm going to be doing some streams. I've got some streams set up that I really, really want to do. Found some very interesting things to cover. And like I need to just get an episode off the ground. But yeah, so thank you very much for joining us on today's episode of GameBabble Live. I hope to catch you next week for our final episode of the year. Until then, though, here is Born to Be Yours by Kygo and Imagine Dragons here on 89.5 FM, KCFB The Wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind. Thank you so much for listening. Catch ya next week. And enjoy.